Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. We're going to jump in today with a question that kind of popped up at the end of yesterday's extended, where honestly, if you saw yesterday's reading but did not see yesterday's extended, it was interesting because we saw some dynamics show up in the reading that took a pretty strong turn. It stayed realistic for me, but I feel like it took a pretty strong turn during the extended. So it might be, if you just every once in a while get them, that might be one to get. As far as this, though, today, the question that came up was kind of, why am I still feeling this burst of energy? What is happening? There's so much my person swirling energy coming in here. Am I just making this up? Am I just holding out hope for something that isn't realistic? And when you see the way that the energy popped out yesterday, then it was particularly when we talked about your person's emotions, it kind of made a little bit more sense. And the comment that I made, so I'm going to blow the answer a little bit here, but the comment that I made was, if you're feeling like you're just imagining this, you are not just imagining all this. And so let's get in there, though, and understand why it seems like it is just so pervasive. It'll be a general reading, as it is always a general reading for this collective here on this channel. Been doing this about a year, started with pick a cards, and it just kind of narrowed down into all the pick a card piles were telling us kind of the same thing. And I realized that some questions really didn't require that, the three different piles. And then I realized we were kind of chasing a single story, a single storyline, but different people are on different places in the timeline. So it ends up being a general reading for this collective, but the readings are all very much linked. So if it speaks to you, you might want to go ahead and subscribe. You may want to go ahead and look at some of the other messages, see what else has come out so far. We're going to start by looking at that energetic and emotional backdrop, the way I like to do. And that came out fairly quickly. The Tower, again. All right, so you guys, if you saw yesterday's reading, you'll notice this was the energy of yesterday as well. So it looks like this is still kind of happening. Feels like it is still a shared energy, but it's coming out super heavy on them right now. Even though it may also be super heavy on you, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it as their energy. Okay, so there's been a missed opportunity. What else? We've got Judgment. They're not happy about a decision that they made. And then there's the Sun here in reverse, which is talking about that missed opportunity. So we'll take the missed opportunity first. Something that happened here, and this is not like the missed opportunity that showed up for you where you go, oh, now I've learned something from this. This is like a missed opportunity that gutted them, okay? This feels like what happened with you. So there's been, okay, we know that there's a partnership more or less falling apart with them and that it's hitting them a little bit harder than what they would have expected. That's part of what came out in yesterday's reading. And so that is having the effect of reminding them of what hasn't gone well in the past and what opportunities they have missed in the past. And so it's kind of reminding them of the last time a partnership went sideways, and they're in the business end of this tower. It feels like right now, it feels like they're feeling a little hard on themselves. So where we haven't seen emotion coming through necessarily, I feel like it's starting to come through, which again makes plenty of sense after yesterday's extended. We've got the Judgment card in the reverse. So this is where I'm saying they're not pleased with what they're seeing there. This is their own actions, not passing judgment. And here we have the Five of Swords in the reverse, but it feels like a little too late. So if you guys recall, we've been seeing a ton of the Five of Swords come out, whether it is in reverse or in the upright. It's about making the right decisions for the right reasons, not throwing good energy after bad. And I see them making some adjustments that put them in a much better place here with regard to how they're utilizing their energy. But again, it does have that feeling of possibly being a little too little, a little too late. With the Star card, though, it's a reminder. We saw this come out in yesterday's reading as a reminder that things are absolutely moving in the right direction, even if it doesn't necessarily feel like it all the time. As you know, obviously there are some fairly challenging things that happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. It's just a challenge. And I don't say just to diminish it. Okay, so we have the Five of Wands in the reverse and the Queen of Swords in the upright. This is this feeling of shifting and changing and tumultuous emotional adjustment is short-lived. This person is not going to tolerate it for very long. They are basically going to bail from this. They're going to stop throwing good energy after bad is their thinking on it, but I get the sense there's more of a catch to it than that. So they want to stop fighting. They don't want to have this challenge anymore, and I think their desire to get out from under the challenge may be more powerful than their desire to fix it. So I see this as potentially a rash move before the healing is done. They may be looking to get out from under whatever's happening in their situation right now. And this energy has now shifted to be very strongly their direction. We have the Ace of Wands. They're allowing themselves to get distracted by something right now. But I don't necessarily, this is not the one that sets your soul on fire. This is simply a distraction. This is, in some cases, there are drugs or drinking or something there that your person is. This is almost like how they're going to dispense with the struggle and cut things out. They're going to escape it without actually escaping it, is what this tells me. So this is that feeling of having a few extra drinks, trying to cope with the situation, but actually using that alcohol to cope, which is maybe not always the direction they go. So if you're saying, well, my person drinks sometimes, but they're not someone who drinks to excess, they're not somebody who drinks to forget, like this is them drinking to forget, possibly to excess. And then we've got the moon, which is, this is them not being able to make decisions with less information. Sometimes the moon comes out and I'm like, well, there's mystery, but it's okay because you're actually good at making decisions with very little information or with less information than you would typically want. This is them not being able to do that. They're having the mystery in the sense of a lot of the information not being there, but they're not really in a position to make those decisions effectively without it, not without going back on them. So we have a Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords in the reverse, Temperance in the upright. The Temperance talks about, and it's an honorable mention, so I'm going to set it back down, but the Temperance card talks about balance in their foundation. So there's been a lot about their values needing to adjust, a lot about things needing to change. They have something in their foundation that is actually fairly solid, that is their saving grace. It's the reason they made it to you. It's the reason that they're able to even consider coming into union with you. So that's an incredibly positive thing. But what it's also generating is an ability for them to work past anxiety, which has been very challenging for them of late. Working past anxiety is not necessarily always this person's strong point. All right, what else? There's kind of an interesting, almost decisive energy coming out today. There's the Knight of Pentacles, which is a slow and steady movement, but it's a slow and steady movement they probably don't recognize. So it's like the spinning of the earth. You don't always notice it until you start to see the light change. Sometimes it's just a feeling of you eventually notice that there's a very consistent change, but you don't necessarily feel it while it's happening. I guess I can't figure out a better way to say it than that. That's kind of what this is. It's change, but it's like an undercover change. And then here we have the Ace of Chalices. This is your person trying to get back under the covers, where the covers have been ripped off of them. They're feeling a little bit more like they have emotions that they've been able to suppress more easily in the past. And so this is them looking for those covers to kind of pull them back up. So it's not a comfortable position that we find your person in today, despite the fact that it's got that Tower card at the top. Just like yesterday's energy did, it's not necessarily feeling the same way that yesterday's energy did. Okay, let's look into it. Why are you still feeling all of this? Are you just holding out hope? We already know you're not just imagining it, but what is happening there? Why are you still feeling all this energy? Why is it still so large and in charge? And you know, some of you, it's been years and you're like, I'm not the person who hangs on to something like this for years, not even months. What is this? It's taken so long. And you start to wonder, like, what's wrong? Googling things like, should it take this long? You know, I know you're out there. All right, so the shadow comes up. This is like the devil card. This is why Perfect, perfect answer. So why you're still feeling all this energy, this is a shared energy. It's not just you. This is that devil energy, something that has a control over you, has a sway. It holds sway over you, but it is not. It's really not. It's really not something that's resolved. Like both of you are experiencing something that has a lot of control over you and can't seem to get resolved easily. It's the overthinking around the relationship. It's in this case, your person is drinking to get away from this and to also get away from the situation that's happening with their third person or their third party. But yeah, this is like the devil energy that just won't let go. It doesn't let go. It's not easy to let go of. You can't even really stop thinking about it for very long. You will not have a day go by where you don't think about this, even after, in some cases, months or years. So we have the Ace of Pentacles, that feeling that something is just not happening. We know that it is slowly and surely moving along, but it feels strongly as if it's not, and that's part of what the panic is. So it's those of you who are saying, I haven't heard from this person and I'm like at my wit's end. I don't know what to do. And this is saying it is actually shifting. There isn't really much that you can do other than accept and work on yourself. However, that does absolutely nothing to address this devil energy. It does absolutely nothing to tell you why you're still feeling it all, why the anxiety seeps in, why there's still that sense of a little bit of panic. There's a desire to feel like a desire to get past it, honestly, just to kind of get past it or stop thinking about it. With the Empress, I just wish I could get past this. I just want to fast forward past this difficult part. And the Six of Chalices is the part where you just want to be able to stop thinking about it. But unfortunately, that's not, like, it's having the opposite effect. Saying you're not going to think about something can sometimes cause you to think about it more. So even thought stopping is one of those things that you can't really be successful with it until you're in a place where it's the right thing to do. But it's very torturous until you're in that right place. And sometimes even after you are, it can be pretty challenging. You've got an Eight of Wands here that says that you have a lot of passion to get out from under this, a lot of passion to stop this devil energy from impacting you going forward. But there is still the sense that there's not a lot of control over it. Even if it were to end in the next week, it would still feel like it took way, 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 way too long for a lot of you. You're done and tired of it. Have been for a long time. That's definitely part of what I'm getting from this. And let's see what I drop. I dropped cards, but they were face down. Why is this sticking around so long? What is going on with this energy? Three of Swords, the heartbreak that is yet unresolved. Two of Swords, the decision that is yet unmade. And the Page of Chalices, that constant desire to make a communication. So there's a desire to make a communication, and it's like a nagging... So it's a desire on your side, and on their side, it's more of a nagging, I have to do this, I know I have to do this, and they're trying to sublimate it in some cases. Not an easy thing to sublimate. All right, so we got a couple of them that came out there. They're still not feeling like they have choices with you, and you may be feeling that too, to a certain degree. There may be a sense of feeling like you don't have choices as it relates to really this relationship in particular, but romance maybe even overall. It may be bleeding into, now I feel like I can't be successful in my other endeavors, whether it's, I had one person that said, I'm never going to be the same again after this. Am I ever going to be the same? And the answer that's coming out here for me pretty clearly, I'm being reminded of that question. So if you're the one that wrote in with that question, and the way that I'm thinking about it, it may be more than one of you who has written in with that question, but it was one person in particular that said, I feel like after this situation, I'm just never going to be the same. How am I going to do this? Am I ever going to be the same? And the answer is no, you're not going to be the same, but it doesn't mean that you aren't going to move on just fine. It's going to be, other soulmates will take very different roles in your life. This one is a significant role, may even be someone that you ultimately reunite with. But it's not necessarily something that it's not something that is easy to solve. It's not something that like there's a feeling that it can't be overcome, but that is not accurate, and I don't know how else to, like, it has to, you have to come around the corner to where you're going to be able to see it. But it's, as it, at this point, an unresolved decision, an unresolved crossroads. You haven't made it to the crossroads yet to be able to really make the turn and do what has to happen in order for you to find peace here. But that is true of your person as well. You guys are mirroring each other so strongly. Here with the King of Wands, do we want the one underneath it? No. The King of Wands in reverse. This is that desire to control it, but it's like a desire to control it that creates fairly significant drag on the overall situation. So we talked about the ball and chain feeling in the last reading, yesterday's reading. This kind of has that feeling to it as well. What have we got? Eight of Swords. All right. So this is where it becomes overthinking. And we saw evidence of that here with that devil card energy up, or the devil energy up there. But this is the overthinking, inability to move forward. Am I good enough? Here it is again. I don't think I'm good enough. And then the Seven of Wands that came up a minute ago, and I thought I'm just going to put it back in the deck and we'll see if it pops back out, is absolutely popping back out. So it's got that feeling with the Seven of Wands. Of a lack of confidence, like you're not moving in the right direction, because again, this progress can't really be seen. So it feels a little like panic. You're encouraged, and we'll get into what your advice is a little bit more over here, but you're encouraged very much to focus on what's happening within yourself, because that progress is going to be easier to see. But there's this feeling on both sides of not deserving it and of overthinking that very fact. That's a big portion to of the answer as to why it is that you're not necessarily feeling like this is going away, or why this energy feels like it's hanging around. And it gives you the sense that, like, why am I even doing this? Am I still holding out hope for no reason? What is this all about? So we've identified that you're definitely not just imagining it. This is real. It's happening on both sides, but it looks pretty different. So even though these are mirrored emotions and mirrored energy on both sides, even it looks pretty different. I want to get deeper into this when we get into the extended and see what else comes out, because I remember yesterday things got pretty different once we got into the extended. And the extended is always interesting because not as many people click on it. So it has that feeling of being more like a personal reading. And I felt like as we were moving into yesterday's, it was definitely kind of heading that way. Let's go deeper into this just to understand the nature of kind of what's happening here, especially with that devil energy and with this tower energy that they're really still working through. I think that of course is the lens through which we need to view the rest of the reading, but I feel like that makes this an extra good question to ask for today. So let's look at you first, though. What you should be focusing on based on everything that we see here, based on the energy that you guys are in today, which what came out was especially their energy. But I do feel like it's a continuation, maybe just a little bit more complexity than what we saw yesterday. And so I feel like for you, it may come out that way as well. I guess we'll see. We have the Three of Crystals in the reverse. This is earth energy, and this is things not really going the way that you planned. Feel like you roll with it, but I feel like it's not going the way that you planned. So this is not the sort of thing that makes you panic, whatever it is. This isn't the sort of thing where somebody's not reaching back out to you, where you're not hearing from them. Yeah, you've got a nice solid balance under the surface. And so you might even be standing next to somebody who's having a really hard time today, and you're just over there, like similarly, things are not working out for you, but it's got this feeling of everything's going to be all right. Okay, Seven of Chalices. You have some confusing choices ahead of you. It's not always easy to tell what you're looking at. Sometimes it's a little confusing. In fact, if you look at this, it looks a little bit like a mirror between the top and the bottom. And really, it's a chalice sitting on top of like a tree stump. So you have these different chalices sitting on top of a tree stump, but it's not super clear what you're looking at. It's not super clear what your options are. That's what this shows. It's just something where you're going to ultimately... What I'm getting is that you're going to want to use this temperance energy, what you have of balance, and just kind of sit back and say, all right, I get that there's a lot going on. It hasn't coalesced into a picture just yet. You've got a new perspective coming your way, but I don't get the sense that it's here yet. So this is the Hanged Man, looking all like Vecna like that. But the Hanged Man in this case is really a positive kind of experience rather than as opposed to anything that happens on Stranger Things. But the Hanged Man, it's got the you've got a new perspective that's coming, but it's one that once it comes, you're not necessarily going to know what to do with it. So be cool. It's not necessarily going to stay that way. It's not going to stay that way. Right now, the reason that it doesn't is because you're too close. And so this is kind of what I was seeing here earlier. It's difficult to see all the options. And so you almost just have to wait it out and just let that temperance energy work its magic. What temperance energy you're able to access right now. Because with the King of Swords, you're not seeing the whole picture, but you really would have to step back and make an effort to see the big picture. So keep that in mind. It's not automatically just necessarily going to come to you, but it's about your self-trust. So once again, the Seven of Swords is back to meaning self-trust. And it's self-trust that you have. It's lessons that you've already learned, self-trust that you've already built. So you're in a good position to move forward with this, but it's just not necessarily, it may take you by surprise when you realize how balanced you really are in all this. You have the Three of Wands because things have already been set into motion for you, and that's very much the sense of it. Once this, when the self-trust piece comes in, you're going to lock eyes with that temperance and you're going to be like, this is fine. That is about when you start to see the new perspective, and that's when you're able to say, wait for it, or not wait for it, as the case may be. The goal that you guys have had here is to figure out what it is that, one of the goals, because there are several lessons that are out there. One of them is to figure out what it is you truly want. So we just saw the Nine of Cups come up yesterday for your person saying that they were not happy. Can't remember if it was in the extended or as part of the YouTube reading, but they weren't happy. Both of you are supposed to be going on a quest to figure out what that happiness even looks like for you at this time, because it's not just going to be one aspect of your life going well. It's going to be more than that. So what does it look like? This is you recognizing more of a need for that quest. But the cool thing is you're also going to notice that you've done some of the work there. So that's very positive. The King of Chalices, though, it's going to be kind of an awkward feeling of feeling like you don't have that. It's like that feeling when you can't think of words, or you don't feel like you're being very charismatic or well spoken on a certain day. And it feels like it's getting in your way and it's bothering you. There's that kind of feeling to it. But that's, again, incredibly temporary. You've got the Chariot card. Might be a little bit tough to get motivated as you're working through this, especially after feeling like things aren't necessarily going your way. And a little bit of PTSD from what's happening with this Tower energy over here. Realize that anything that's happening with your person, part of the reason that you're feeling all this swirling energy is because they're going through it. You have the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands is about stability. It reminds me a little bit of that Temperance card, where you're able to see the stability within yourself. It's a significant thing. You go into your learning cave, you go off by yourself, whether it's actually by yourself or you get in a room for 5 minutes by yourself when nobody can find you, but you're going to find this stability waiting for you down there, and that's going to be kind of the backbone of picking yourself back up from all of this. But be aware there may also be a little bit of depression lingering in there, a little bit of, because with all this panic, there's been a lot of energy that feels like it's been trying to move. And instead of like it all whooshing out like what it would do, what I feel like it's going to do with your person, although we'll look into it a little bit more deeply in the extended. With you, it's like now I just kind of want to lie back down and go to sleep. Little bit of that sense of depression. So we're going to get into the extended now, dig in a little bit more on what's happening with this energy and why you're still feeling it. Although I feel like with the energy what it is today, and with this tense sort of devil energy that wants to be resolved here, but has a hard time doing that, and things are kind of just not even moving in a direction that's helping you resolve. This is stuff flowing up. This is stuff not going your way. This is what binds you. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. It's not something that resolves itself overnight. So if you want to go into the extended, the link is down below in the description. I look forward to seeing you there. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out there as well. And otherwise, I will see you in tomorrow's reading.